ragtag bunch of rebels faces the greatest military superpower of the day. It's a war they never should have won. This is the secret history of how they did it. Daring. Leadership. New ways of fighting. And true American grit. We are pioneers and trailblazers. We fight for freedom. We transform our dreams into the truth. Our struggles will become a nation. New York City, gateway to North America. Today, the financial capital of the world. Population, 8 million people.
Okay. Sorry I didn't stop this where I wanted to. Yes, New York is our financial capital of the world, meaning we've got a whole lot of people coming. Let me just rewind that a little bit for you.
Today, the financial capital of the world. Population.
So this is what it looks like today. We're going to take you back, though. This is more recent. This is part of the Industrial Revolution in the Gilded Age. New York, that didn't always quite look like this. But there's something else you need to know about it. Why it was such a strategic place and why it became such a financial capital. New York City is actually a group of islands. That's why they have so many bridges. And each borough is actually, Queens, Manhattan are their own little islands.
8 million people. In 1776, this is a city of just 20,000. It will soon become the battleground for the biggest land invasion in American history.
So hopefully you remember we pushed the British out of Boston before with the battles of Lexington and Concord, then with Bunker Hill, which you will be receiving notes on. We managed to push the British out. They actually leave, but then they come right back because they somehow still think this is their land.
3 miles from Wall Street, where 23rd Street crosses Lexington Avenue today. The rebels dig in to defend New York at Kips Bay. Commander of the rebel army is General George Washington.
Once again, remember from our notes, the Second Continental Congress put George Washington in charge. It's basically, he even showed up in his uniform, his military uniform. It's unknown whether he really was trying to get them to give him the job of general or give him the command. But he was reminding them that, one, he is a soldier at heart, and two, the men love him. His men, the French Indian War, they've always loved him. So even if he wasn't considered the best military strategist from the French Indian War, remember he lost Fort Necessity, he's got the loyalty of the people in the army. So your experienced soldiers are going to more easily rally behind him than somebody they are unfamiliar with.
He has already driven the British out of Boston. A surprise victory against superior forces. But they'll be back. hour is fast approaching, on which the honor and success of this army and the safety of our bleeding country depend. Joseph Plum Martin enlisted in the rebel forces at 15. Inspired to fight under Washington's command. A farm boy, he joins thousands of untrained volunteers. Our Revolutionary Army was quite something. It was in a nation that wasn't really a nation yet.
Okay, for those who don't know who this guy is, this is Colin Powell. There were people who wanted him to run for president. He just didn't want to put his family through what anybody who becomes president or even runs goes through. But this guy, you do need to acknowledge, is a military expert. He was the head of the army, well, the military, during the Iraq. He was the head of the military during Iraq. He knows what he is talking about when he talks about military strategy and military history. Some of the guys are going to show here are just politicians. Powell, please give it up to Colin Powell. He does know what he is talking about. He has led the United States military during a war. A short war, but it was a war.
Just starting out. And we took on the greatest superpower of the time. Washington's ragtag troops are about to face the best equipped and most powerful fighting force in the world. June 29th, 45 British warships mass off Staten Island.
Okay, so once again, they send 45 warships to begin with. They're going to send more. And Staten Island is really an island. At this point, the British were considered to have the greatest navy of all time. That record will stay until the War of 1812, when, unfortunately, we're not going to have time really to get into it. The Americans started building some better ships than what the British had at the time. But back in the Revolution, the British were considered to have the best navy.
Bearing down on New York City, the ultimate war machine of its day, the British ship of the line. Each ship is made from over 2,000 century-old trees. Each carries hundreds more soldiers to the fight against the colonies. And each is armed with up to 64 heavy cannons. Capable of hurling a 24-pound cannonball at the speed of sound, delivering it to targets over a mile away. One ship of the line cost the equivalent of a modern aircraft carrier. Another 350 British ships are racing across the Atlantic to join them. The British want to terrify the rebels into submission. Instead, they inspire them to resist. On July 2nd, there's a crisis meeting in Philadelphia. 50 delegates, elected to the Continental Congress from the 13 colonies, hold an emergency session. They include radicals like Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. What they're debating. They include radicals like Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams.
So yes, this is the Second Continental Congress, which you've already received notes on. You should definitely know who these guys are. And they are at their time considered the radicals. This is a new idea. Nobody's decided to just overthrow their motherland, much less what they're going to do afterward.
What they're debating is nothing less than high treason. Total independence from Britain. The penalty is death.
They're in the midst of a revolution. The most complete in the history of the world.
It's the birth of American democracy.
We have to inspect the great expanse of blood to obtain it.
Some don't believe the rebels stand a chance.
We are about to brave the storm. The skin made of paper.
But the doubters are outnumbered nearly 5 to 1. On July 4th, 1776, the delegates ratify a document that will change the world.
So once again, they had voted on July 2nd. So the decision to declare independence comes on the 2nd. However, Thomas Jefferson and a couple of his buddies, including Adams, had to first figure out, okay, what exactly is this going to say? We need to drive this point in of what we want. It needs to be perfect. So July 4th is when that document is signed. It will also include, of course, John Hancock, whom you should remember as one of the people whose ships were searched for illegal goods. And yeah, he had them.
The Declaration of Independence.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Think about that. They're saying that your rights come not from the king, not from the government. Your rights come from God. And furthermore, they can't be taken away from you. They're inalienable.
Every group, blacks, women, gays, everybody looks to the Declaration as a way of saying, we are Americans too. So the Declaration is the American creed.
And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
You cannot help but be stirred when you read those words. And you feel the excitement of being on the cusp of something so profound. We can be free. Now, soldiers like Plum Martin have something worth fighting for. On July 12th, 2 British warships opened fire on New York City.
Must have been quite a shock because New York up to that point was a pretty quiet city. It was a business city. So you had significant support for the rebels, but also significant support for the people who were still loyal to the king.